Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. This podcast is part of the Never a Face Network. Make sure to follow them on Instagram or go to the website neverafacenetwork.com. On this episode, we have on media and film composer Andrew Morgan Smith. We talked about how he has 6 kids, family dynamics with that many kids, teaching your kids empathy and kindness, teaching your kids calming techniques when they have a panic attack, and trying to keep friends as an adult, and his life as a film and media composer. Andrew, if you are listening to this, I did take out pretty much all of our discussion of plugins, walking around rooms and clapping to see all the room sounds, and just gear in general. But hey, if you're listening to this and you just want to listen to two dads talk really nerdily about audio stuff and how rooms sound, which I doubt you do, message me and maybe I'll release the unedited cut. And also just one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad. How many? Okay, you have 6 kids, right?
I have 6 kids.
Dude, whenever I have to make this awful dad joke. Originally, since you do film and stuff, and I was like, oh, he must live in LA because you do film stuff. You do live in LA. It's just Louisiana and not Los Angeles. So that makes sense with the 6 children and everything.
Yeah. I definitely would have to have a tremendous windfall to live in Los Angeles.
With 6 children also.
With 6 children. And by live in Los Angeles with 6 children, you'd probably be living out, in Palmdale.
Yeah, you would. You would
be way out there, just to be able to afford the space, Yes, that is correct. I have 6 kids and they range from 2 years old to 10.
Okay.
So,
whoa, dude, that's a lot.
It's a party. It's always a party over here. It almost feels like, whenever, and maybe this is not as universal an experience as I think it is, but whenever you'd have an event and all the family gets together, all your cousins come over and all, it's like that, but just all the time.
I gotcha. Yeah.
With only 2 adults, That's how it feels.
Do you, because I have family from Utah and they're Mormon, and one of my uncles has I think 6 daughters, and being at their house, it's just I always thought oh, that's going to be a lot to have that many people in one house, and it's just natural. It's very much they're all older now, so if someone's cooking, they'll help each other. They'll know where everything is, and it's very it's much more communal feeling in the chaos than it is I would have just assumed oh God, this is a lot. And it's no, everyone has a purpose. Everyone's figuring it out. You're fine. You'll be good.
Yeah. No, it's very much so, especially as they've gotten older, obviously young kids are just young kids. So they require a lot physically.
Yes.
And that's universal, whether or not you have 2 kids, 1 kid, 10 kids. It's just until they get to about, until they get to probably 4 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then they start to be probably more like 5. They start to be more independent. They kind of have their own thing. You're not literally holding their hand for everything, And so once you get older than that, and then also they had built-in friends. And so I come from a family of 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 older sisters who were adopted, who were 7 years older than me.
Okay.
So by the time they left, right, they leave when I'm 9, 10 years old, and at that point, I effectively live as an only child, and that's fine, that's great, but also you spend a lot of time bored as an only child,
Yeah.
Especially growing up in the 90s, I remember many a day of just laying on the floor and staring at the ceiling.
Yep.
Taking a ball and kicking it against the wall outside or the fence outside. But it's with my kids, they don't know what that feels like, and they the older 3 kids were just out there yesterday, playing soccer together. It's they have built-in friends that even if no one is around or people can't come out and play, or we're not you automatically have people, especially because it seems to be kind of not always, but they've paired off a bit. So we've been very fortunate that we never really dealt with a crazy jealousy complex between any of the kids. From I've seen that kind of happen with when kids are born, oh, the youngest kid will be jealous of the, we didn't deal with that, but obviously they kind of pair off and they'll play together, but it does seem the friction points are between the 2 nearest siblings. So Like the the like number two will like not want to be around number three, and the number
Yeah.
one does only, you know what I mean? It's like they kind of, but they all play together, and I can see it more and more of them looking out for each other, and it's been great. Like that's been really, it is chaotic, and there's a lot of energy. I have 5 boys and 1 girl, so it's a
Oh,
lot
dude.
of
Okay. Yeah.
intensity. It's a lot of
Yeah.
intensity. But like as time goes on, you're seeing more and more of like you're saying, like them looking after each other,
Mm.
or like looking out for each other, and we're always encouraging that of
Yeah. Of
like,
course.
hey, we're always trying to make sure that y'all kill each other,
Yeah. Yeah, right.
making sure that they're encouraging to be, to look out for each other, and because they, whenever they're at school, like, hey, if you see something going on, please like help them out, let them
Yeah.
know, and like they have done that,
Yeah. I think it's fast. I didn't expect whenever I became a parent how important it is, like that you have to like teach empathy and kindness, and like you have to positively reinforce it constantly. Because I feel like that's because it's just natural. Of like whenever like let's say I have 2 girls and a son, and the 2 girls are older. So yeah, if like if my son falls down, the girls will just go back to playing. And be like, no, 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 stop.
Hmm.
Make sure he's okay. See what he's doing. Ask him how he's doing. And like you have to teach that. Like, or I
Yeah.
feel like you do. And like that's an aspect of parenting I did not anticipate, to teach and positively reinforce kindness and empathy. Because I'm just like, oh no, someone falls down, just go check on them. And I'm like, that means your parents probably drilled that into your head whenever you're a kid. If someone is crying, go see why they're crying. And like that's, to realize that's not a commonly taught thing kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it is. My wife and I kind of came to the same conclusion, because we've 100%, like the default is like, I got the toy, they're crying. I don't
Yep.
care. I got
It's
the
not my
toy.
problem.
Not my problem. Oh, well,
Yep. Sucks
sucks
for
for
them.
you. Exactly. Sucks for you. So 100%, that has been um, a journey of like, hey, realizing like, oh, we do have to reinforce these virtues or these thoughts, because it is wild. Because also I've especially as a parent, and you go to events or you go to the
Hmm.
park or whatever, like you see kids who don't have that stuff put in them, and sometimes it's not the kid's fault. Like maybe they just don't have a lot of time around other kids or whatever it is. Whereas like our kids have an everyday lesson to be learned, because they're always next to each other. You can really see that, and I've interacted with adults who obviously like were never told, hey, have you ever put yourself in that person's shoes of like, why would they not want to do that? Why might they not like that? You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yes.
Whereas you've interacted with those people who are like, why would anyone else want to do anything else besides the exact thing that I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've learned to reinforce, and our kids have taken to it great. But yeah, kid falls down at playground. Make sure the kid's okay. If it seems like they're not okay, come find us so we can find their parent. Because if you're not able to self regulate, like maybe your parent can help you regulate. And, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I also have friends where it's like, what, why would you only think about how this affects you? What, do you not realize other people? Okay, I don't. And then it's hard not to be cynical and mad and
Yeah.
angry at people,
You
because
should
then
name them right now.
I will. But no, it's that weird. It is a weird moment to be like realizing what I define as empathy and kindness is not a shared definition. Was a
Hmm.
very interesting moment of adulthood, to be like, oh, I think kindness is just making sure someone's okay if they seem hurt. Oh, why would you do that? Because they're hurt and I'm near them. Do you know them? Do I have to know someone to ask if they're
Yeah.
okay? Because that's why would that be a
And then also obviously like with kids, um, as you grow older and you just see people live their lives differently. And um and like you're saying, like there are just some people who just don't value certain things in certain ways. And you gotta figure out a way to kind of explain, well, this is why, whatever it is, this is why that person acted out, or maybe, and obviously you have to kind of, I want to say dumb it down. I don't mean it in like you gotta like put it to their level of
yeah where
understanding.
they
You
can
can't just be
comprehend it?
like,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. You got to put it to their level. You can't just be like, well, Timmy, there's a reason why, Santa Claus isn't real or whatever it is.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, it's interesting to try and find ways. And also in a lot of ways, it kind of, it kind of forces you to take something that you have maybe taken for granted, or maybe it just was like the norm whenever you were growing up, and say like, okay, but like, what's at the deeper root of that? Like, why is this important? Sit there and say, why is this important? And why is this important for them to understand? And if I can't really put a finger on it, then like, why are you even dealing with it?
Mm-hmm.
So it does also help you, just like anything else with having kids, of like you kind of rediscover all these things of like,
do.
oh, the joys of looking at farm equipment.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
My wife can name dinosaurs, which I'm sure she never thought she would be able
Never.
to do.
Yep.
But like you rediscover and have to kind of recalculate. You do a lot of introspection as well of like, why is this true? Why is this what we're doing?
Yeah.
That kind of thing,
Yeah. I do. And like, I also think it's cool if you have 5 sons, like that means you're making sure to actively teach your sons empathy, which like is, I think regardless of gender, I think empathy always gets more associated with feminine characteristics than masculine characteristics. And I personally just love the reality of like, you can be masculine and empathetic at the same time. You can have masculine traits and still be like, hey, are you okay? And mean it in a genuine way.
Yeah, well, I think that too often we associate masculinity with like, as a culture, we associate masculinity with just being hard,
Yeah. Or
right?
dominance in
As
some
just
way. Yeah.
dominance, and it's like, look, also you can still be firm and
Yeah.
still care about what somebody says, like that.
Correct.
Like part of being a dad and a husband and a father, is that like whenever you act out, like I'm usually the person who gets called in, especially for the older kids,
Yeah.
but also like I care about my kids and I make sure that I can, be I don't want to say emotionally vulnerable to them, but in the sense of like it's okay to feel certain ways. Like it's okay to
Yeah.
feel certain things. It's okay to be scared or upset or cry about something. Like but it's a more of a positive connotation of like people also need, I think also too many times people conflate like, oh well, like all man, I'm really struggling to think of the phraseology I want to use.
Yeah.
People conflate like saying, okay, well, if I'm a man, I have to be like just zero empathy,
Mhm.
so hardcore that like I can't ever show emotion, I can't ever be these
Yeah.
things. But also on the flip side of that, there's the flip side of that, which is reactionary to that notion of like, oh well, like all of that is bad. Whereas like, no, you can still be firm, and my kids still need to have like firm discipline. Like I can't just let them do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
So that finding that balance has been very interesting,
Mhm. Yeah.
especially with all the stress of life and work and being
Yeah,
a
of course.
spouse and being a dad and all that and paying bills and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah. No, I think like to help you phrase it, like I think I always try to level with my kids. Like if they're like, because I think we probably grew up with more like that. When your dad gets home, just you wait. And now we're the dad who's supposed to dole out this punishment. And I walk into the room and it's more just like, just tell me what happened. Like I'm not gonna. I try to go into the room if I'm called into the room, quote unquote, not with any assumptions. Just like, hey, something's happening. Just tell me what's going on, and like this talk
Yeah.
about it. And that doesn't mean that like you don't have a backbone. It just means you're gathering information and then trying to make your kid like I always try to make sure my kids know why I'm making the decisions I'm making. Because I don't want to
Yeah.
walk in them and be like, this is happening because I said so. It's like, hey, this is happening. And if like I don't like him, like, hey, once again, here's why we're doing this. I'm staying firm on this. And like that's not weakness. But I feel like most of us were raised with dads or parents where this said, this is what's happening. And you're like, why? And they're like, don't you talk back. And you're like, why wouldn't you explain your reasoning? You don't have to change just because you explained your reasoning. Just, I want to know why the hell this is happening. And I'm a human. You're a human. Just tell me what's happening here.
Yeah. And that's also but that also goes back to, there's several things, especially lately. I've been discovering like 100% that's like, I always want to try and explain my reasoning as best I can. Because I think also they learn the best lesson whenever they understand why something's happening.
Correct. Yes.
But on the flip side of that, I do think there's a value in also like, hey, you don't understand this right now, but like we can have this conversation when you're a little older, or because there are obviously things that like I always try, I'm sure you do too. You try to be like appropriate with whatever you're dealing with. And also the other thing too, especially in it's like with so many kids, it depends on which kid it is, right? So some kids, I know that once they calm down, like say there's a big blow up and with so many different personalities in the house, I know, especially with certain people, well, I should caveat this is like pretty much with everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if there's a big blow up, we should just cool off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing right now.
We're going to recenter and come back to this.
Yeah. Let's go do something else for a bit.
Yeah.
And then whenever you've calmed down, we're going to tell you why this is happening or what needs to happen. Because especially recently, one of my kids has been very scared. Like all of a sudden he's gone from like 0 to 100 of being scared of everything.
That sucks.
And it's been a few months of this, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we're like kind of coming out of it. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I've noticed that like once he starts spiraling, he can't be talked to. Like you can't really, he's so scared. Like, and what would just happen before that, things would just escalate. Well, if you don't do this, this is going to happen.
So
and then
that-
it would not. And there was no getting to him.
Yeah.
And so over time, I kind of realized, and of course, obviously, this always happens at night when you're sleep deprived and you're just like chronic sleep debt. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't.
Yeah.
And obviously, like with multiple kids, you're also like, oh, I don't want him to wake up the other kids and all kinds of stuff. But what I just realize, and I try to exercise in that scenario, is like I have to read the moment of saying we can have this conversation when you're awake and when you're like fully aware and you're not spiraling. And I went through counseling. I mean, I kind of go off and on through counseling, but after my dad passed away, I started doing more counseling. And one of the things you learn is like the 3 R's, and you might know this, is like recognize, reject, and redirect.
Cool. No, I don't know that.
So like whenever I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, and I've had like, I've dealt with like anxiety attacks off and on for the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. And so there's a thing that one of my counselors told me, which is like, you recognize what's going to start when you start to feel like you're going to spiral. You reject it. You just actively say, hey, I'm not going to do this right now. And you redirect. So that means like whatever you're doing, like get up from that moment and go do something else, just to like just redirect from the moment. He's like, get up, go play with your kids, get up, go walk outside, go literally get up and just get out of the moment that you're having this.
Yeah.
And it's been very valuable.
Yeah.
In just being able to really understand. And I'm obviously trying to impart that to especially that kid that's been dealing with the fear issue of like, you start to feel like you're going to spiral.
Yeah.
And then you have to like say, oh, this is what's happening. And then like, and it sounds kind of silly to vocalize it, but also it does work of like, you recognize it and then you say, oh yeah, I can't let myself go there right now. And then you just redirect and you think about something else, do something else, move on to doing something else.
Yep. But it's also like, if you're, I mean, I agree with that 100%. And like, it's also fun because like, if I have trouble doing that at 38, how the hell do I expect my 7-year-old to be good at that?
Yeah. But it's
fantastic.
I feel like it's one of those things that you're going to tell them those things. And like, I know that you're not going to really, truly understand it right now. Right. But hopefully down the road, you're like, this is why, it's like the building blocks of anything, building blocks of music or whatever you want to talk about, where it's like, I remember in piano, I took piano lessons for 8 years. And I remember like my piano teacher always wanted to do 1, 4, 5. Well, it's like 1, 4, 5, 1, but she had like the specific order. And I was like, what the heck is this for?
Yeah.
For like, and I never remembered what it was. Like, I was like, I don't understand. I would like guess what it was on the keyboard. And then like all of a sudden in like late high school, all of a sudden it clicked and I was like, oh, this is what it was. And I was playing in like a group that I was like, oh, that's like just finding the, the chord position closest to where your 1 is.
Yeah.
So that is hopefully what it would be, right?
Yeah.
The hope is that I can arm them with what they need and eventually they'll be able to continue,
But that pattern also, like, I think what's important to acknowledge with that solution, or whatever you want to call it, is I don't think there's any shame involved in that. Whereas, like, I feel like we would have been told, like, you can't act like this. You can't be this person. And it's just like, okay, so, like, you are starting to panic attack. You are starting to go down a deep, dark path. And, like, just acknowledge it. You don't have to do that right now. Let's go do something else. Whereas, like, I feel like whenever we were kids, we had to deal with, like, guilt and shame involved with that as well. So, like, as we get older, it was like uncoupling the guilt and shame of like, how dare you have a panic attack? And it's like, I didn't choose to have a panic attack. Like, I'm not, I'm not doing. So I would hope that also creates good self-talk for your kid to be like, hey, just so you know, this is what your brain's doing right now. It's all good. Let's do something else up. Let's see if you can get on top of it before you spiral. And then, because no one else,
talk about something else.
Yeah, no one also likes being at the bottom of that spiral. I never get into a shame spiral, and I'm like, this is good. So I want to spend the next 3 hours.
This is what I needed. this really is going to help me contribute to finishing this score.
It is. I
really needed this
when
self-loathing.
when my wife asked me later how was today, and I'm like, I spent most of it despising myself. That's great. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. I saw a creator on TikTok talking about so like this sucks phase of every creative project where you've like been working on it and you haven't figured out the problem yet, and you're like, this sucks. I think it's Colby Day, I think is the creator's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it very much like, it's funny, you can do that in almost anything, right? Like I deal with it in music. You can deal with it in your personal life of like, ugh, we haven't figured this out yet, and this just kind of sucks. And I think also, you're saying like, I don't think like the goal I always find myself trying to balance is like, I want my kids to know that it's that like feeling these emotions, there's like no shame in it.
Yeah.
But also I don't want you to wallow in it, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like we're talking about, like I want you to know it's okay and you can experience these feelings, but we need to figure out how to help you deal with them, whether it's whatever it is, of like, let me help you get the tools. So like this doesn't become debilitating, because that's the fear I always have of like, and sometimes it's like, sometimes I don't agree with saying like, oh, well, it's, you should feel ashamed that you have these anxiety attacks or whatever it is. But I also want to not just be like, oh, well, I just have anxiety and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm scared of it. It's like, well, you still have to function. You still have to be an adult, or eventually, not this. You need to be adult right now.
Exactly.
At 10 years old.
At 3.
Get with it. What are you waiting for?
Yes.
Like as you get older, I want you to be a functioning member of society. I think that's like my goal as with my children is like, I want you to be productive. I want you to be able to, seek your dreams and do these things, but also like these things, I don't want you to wallow in that problem, you know?
I do. And like, I feel like I've done like all the personality tests, all the things, Enneagram, and blah, 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 all that. And I always hate when people use it as a justification for their actions. Like, well, I just do this because I'm anxious. I do this because I'm a sad person. And I'm like, that's supposed to help you understand yourself, not justify yourself. And there's a difference there. And you definitely have days in which the cloud is too heavy, the weight is too much, and it's hard to know how to push it off. I'm not trying to say that's not a reality, but I agree. Like, I think that's what most of therapy is. It's not figuring out what's wrong with you. It's just learning tools. It's learning like, hey, when you approach this, here's how you handle it. When you approach this, here's what you do. If it escalates, it's like you're triaging yourself. Here's your situation. Here's how you make it better. Here's how you hopefully have tools to make it better. That doesn't work. Here's what else you can do. That doesn't work. Here's what else you can do. And that might be breathing techniques. It might be meds. It might be all these different things. But like, it is trying to figure out how that you can be self-reliant instead of giving yourself up to the feeling, the emotion, the anxiety, whatever it is, in which you then stay in the mental headspace for until it leaves. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how. 100%. Like I can't. The last thing I ever want to do is have my kids feel powerless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over their situation.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like we all go through moments of like, well, you kind of are a little powerless to some extent just in life.
Yeah, you can only control so much. That's life.
Yeah, exactly. But also like you discussing like, oh, what can I control? Right? I can control how I react to a situation and how I set myself up for the situation, or for, if I know that my family is a perfect example. If we need to be there, if we need to be somewhere, at say 9:00, we need to be hitting the door in the car at like, or like I'm starting to push at 8. You know what I mean? Like,
let's do this.
It's
let's
like,
go.
I know we have so many people we have to move. We have so many kids we got to get dressed. We have so many things we have to do in order to get there. And plus the travel time we have to travel there. Like, it's that kind of thing. It's like you set yourself up for success by the tools that you're using. Oh, if I know that I'm always going to run a bit late, well, I'm just going to shoot to get there earlier. Right? If I know I tend to deal poorly with stress, it's like, well, what strategies can I use to like minimize that? Maybe that's being more organized. Maybe that's having people on my team to help me get things done and to help organize that stuff. 100%. And I think we all know those people who are just like, well, I just can't do that because I don't know, I'm nearsighted. You don't just say that, you get glasses,
Yeah.
As a person who's tremendously nearsighted. And that's the tools I want to arm my kids with as best as possible, because I know I won't be here forever.
Yeah.
hopefully. And that becomes the ideal. It's like I don't want to be worried when I'm older of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my
Yeah.
kids?
Yeah, right, yeah. And I definitely know, like, people or family members, cousins, in which their anxiety is so debilitating that, like, they can't function, and it really sucks. I know people who have ended up in that situation, and, like, I'm not saying that we as dads have the ability to correct that or make sure that doesn't happen, but, man, if you can create a positive vibe, positive encouragement of when your kid's having a panic attack, so terrified they can't move, to be like, "Hey, let's talk about it," as opposed to, "You go deal with this by yourself and come back when you're good." Like, that's
Yeah.
what I'm hoping for. You are only able to control so much whenever someone's having a panic attack and what you can do to help them out with tools. But, like, I also don't want any of my kids to be in their 30s and having such bad panic attacks they can't leave their house. Like, that just makes me like, "Oh,
Yeah.
man, I'm so sorry." Like, I want to help. Is this a moment when I want to help whenever you're a kid? Is this
Yeah.
it? Because I'm hoping, you know?
Well, and I think also, I mean, and I'm not by any means an expert on this, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think also so much of the parents set the tone of how kids deal with things later, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of discussion of that of like, oh, well, my parents were screamers, like they yelled
Uh-huh.
at us all the time. So now people our age are having the realization of like, oh, that's how I deal with things.
Correct.
Even though like I never was that as like an adult, like that's how you deal with your stress. Or you realize I've seen people also say to me, like, well, my parents, yelled at me. Like they realize now being a parent, they're like, oh, my parents would like just yell at us. Like
Yeah.
that's what they would do. And it's just having that moment of reflection of like, I wonder if that's how it colors everything that I did after that,
Yeah.
of oh, I realized that, because I don't know, my parents didn't like the color red. I don't like red or
Yeah.
something. It's like very you can't control everything your kids do. And once your kids become adults, and you shouldn't want to control everything your kids do, but once
No.
your kids become adults, that's where it is. But like I think setting the tone and trying to set them up for success is very, I mean, it's foundational and developmental moments in their, especially early childhood.
Yeah. It's interesting to get older and also realize, like, what I view as independence, and, like, my value of independence also. Because, like, I feel like I want my kids and myself to be independent, but also need community at the same time. And those are very conflicting things. I need to be able to do everything myself until I can't. Like, because I don't trying to teach your kid, like, you can do this on your own, but also just have friends involved is like, I'm
Yeah.
not good at that as an adult because involving people makes things messy. I get let down a lot. And so I'm more prone to protect myself by not including people because I'm like, well, I don't get hurt if I do it this way. So I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily think of I don't necessarily think of individuality and community as juxtaposition,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I think 100% you're right. It's like this interest. I think especially I feel like in the last 10 years, I've been seeing more discussion of this of like, and maybe it's also just because, as you're saying, like as I'm becoming older and seeing more of like, hey, in a society where like extreme individualism isn't really the most healthy thing, and people do need community, and you are a member of a community and a social
Yeah.
fabric and all that kind of stuff. Like you're not this meatball like floating out in space doing, completely separated from everyone, and we
Yeah.
need people. And I think 100%, like whenever I think of being a successful individual, I don't necessarily think of like, oh, you're by yourself and you can do whatever you want by
Yeah.
yourself all the time. It is but it's like you gotta fulfill the most basic things of like, can you set goals and complete them? Can you
Yeah.
personally, and like I've never really sat here and like enumerated what I think of as like an individual,
Yeah.
but like just be able to be okay. Like I'm not like most of the time without another person's intervention, right?
Mhm.
As in, are you, able to, I want you to be able to, and it's just like me going through the motions with my kids. It's like, can you get yourself dressed? Can you feed yourself?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
show up for work on time?
Yeah.
Can you be nice to other people and be empathetic to other people and be a kid that people, or not a kid at that point, an adult who other people want to be around,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because, and we've had these conversations with our kids whenever they're acting out or whenever they're doing stuff. And it's like, I hope like, it's like, I hope that they're not acting this way with other kids, like the way that they may act with their brother or their sister or whatever at home. It's
Yeah.
like, I hope you're not acting like that with other kids at school because people may not want to be around you,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a reality. I do believe in like that's part of being community and social is people do negatively reinforce things that aren't good. It's like, if you're the kid who steals all the toys, no one wants to play with you, no one should be playing with you. Like, it's like, that's kind of real. If I only talk about myself every single time I'm around a group of friends and I refuse to ask questions about how they're doing and they stop calling me, that they should. Like, I should have
Yeah.
that negatively reinforced. Be like, hey man, get outside your own head. Look at other people. Know other people exist and you'll be okay.
Yeah. And it's wild. I don't know how much you've observed this. I've seen this in our peers of
Mhm.
like, and obviously not every call all the time is going to be like 100% give and take.
Yeah.
But and my wife and I have had this discussion of like, there are these people who like, you can have entire hours long phone
Mhm.
conversations, or you can work with them and you talk to them and they won't ask a single
Single
thing
question. Yep.
about anybody else. And it's like wild. And it has made me stop and be like, it like make me purposefully say like, I don't want to do that. So like, I'm going to always make sure to ask about, and it's funny because I also, as the interviewer, and obviously I've been following your show for a while.
Thank you.
You as the interviewer, I'm like, how much should I ask about Devin's life?
Yeah. No, it's
Because
yeah. No, it's actually always, it's a fascinating role. I always feel like a podcast episode is like a pie chart of like, I always want it to be the guest talks more than I do. All right.
yeah,
I personally believe if I'm talking more than you, then I'm doing an awful job at this. Because if I want to do an
yeah,
episode where I talk the entire time, I shouldn't call you. I should leave
the
you
Devin show.
Exactly. Yes. So
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but that more just means that like there are sometimes guests on here who are like, hey, how do you handle this? And I'm always like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
expect to be asked questions because this, to me, the focus should always be on you. But I always note whenever the guest is like, hey, it's returning the question is communal. If you go, hey man, have your kids ever had panic attacks? You'd be like, oh yeah, one of my middle child will definitely have like nightmares in the middle of the night. We're desperately trying to figure out how to calm her down. You're also sleep deprived. You have no idea what the hell you're doing. You're hoping your tone is polite because you know this could be a core trauma moment later for her.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh,
that's
it already
reality.
is going to be a core trauma. Yeah, it's already going to be I'm gonna just write it down now. It's like I'm gonna write it. Each kid, I'll give them a notebook of like, here are the moments that you probably want to talk about in your
Did this
future
one wrong.
therapy.
Did this one
Yeah.
completely wrong. You walked in the room at 2
Fully
a.m.
own it.
and
Fully own it.
you're having a full-blown nightmare panic attack, and I don't know if I woke up. And I am
Yeah.
genuinely sorry that I was not the resource I hoped I could be in that moment.
Yeah. I'll like sign it at the end. Do better.
Here's
Do better than me.
about $1,000 for maybe a couple therapy sessions, and here
With
you go.
inflation, that's going to be like
And
the first one.
It's going to be one. It's going to be the
Complimentary.
introduction.
Yeah. It'll have a referral in it as well.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
They said they'll give you the
They
first
know
session
what's
for
up.
free.
But no, I mean, we also notice that with people where you'll do a phone call with them, and sometimes also you do just need to vent as a person. You do need to be in the spotlight. You do need to have the moments where you just talk about yourself. And honestly, I think that's good. I hope everyone has people in their life in which they trust and which you can be like, today I just needed to be about me. But like what I notice is I don't mind that moment. What I notice is whenever I need to have that turn to be like, hey, I just need to talk about the crap going on in my life. And whenever they seem disinterested, then I'm like, noted.
Yeah.
It's okay if you talk a lot, but if I want the return, then you aren't as interested. Then I'm like, all right, I don't know what to do with that. Because like,
Yeah.
I don't, if every single day is bad and then you never ask about my day, then I'm like, make some changes, man. Like go do some difference. Like I can't
You
be
should
here
do
just
different things.
Exactly. If every single day you say this sucks when I do it, I'm gonna after a week of it be like, why do you keep doing this thing? Just don't do the thing. Because then my hope is
Well, that's part of dialogue too, right?
Yeah.
Like and I know like obviously different people will deal with different feedback differently, right? Like some
Yeah.
people are very like, I'm just here to listen to you. And then other people are like, hey, like you said, like you've complained multiple times that you hate, whatever. You hate getting paper cuts whenever you use these kind of scissors. And you say, well, why are you using those scissors?
use different scissors.
You know, it feels like, and this is going to make me feel really old. My parents were older. So if I say some crazy level, like boomer reference, then that's why. So like I would watch the movie The African Queen as a kid. I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar with the movie
I'm
The
not,
African
no.
Queen. But at one point, this boat's engine, they're stuck on this boat going down a river in Africa. And the engine doesn't quite work, right? And so at one point, the captain just goes over and starts kicking the engine.
Okay, yeah.
The lady who's with him is like, hey, why don't you just like take apart the engine? Like he's like, oh, a screwdriver fell down there and I just haven't gotten it. And she's like, well, why don't you take it apart and just take out the screwdriver? And he says, No. I've kind of gotten to where I like kicking it. You know, it's that vibe.
Well, because I
You
think
know.
if you go to a therapist, I think they normally you talk about your patterns and they go, "Do you realize that you're in this pattern?" So like for most of my time as a parent, I feel like that's what I'm hoping to do to myself, my spouse, and my kids to be like, "Oh, hey, here's a pattern I see." And like, why do you think this pattern keeps repeating? And can you analyze it? And yeah, sometimes if you just like kicking the machine because you think it makes you feel better, sure. I don't think it's a good solution, but at
Yeah.
least be honest with the fact that you're doing this and you know you could do other things, you just don't want to. At least say
Yeah.
that. Then my job is so much easier being your friend because I'm like, oh, I won't convince you there's another option because you don't care. And you just told me you don't care. And that's honestly, that's better. That's have you hurt your foot yet? Do you need some steel toe boots? Like, how's it going?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that really is like there are just some people where, and I did get to a certain point with some of them where I just don't
Yeah.
interface anymore.
You fade away. Yep.
And I'm just like, I'm just not interested in like I've definitely had the experience with certain people where I realized I was putting all the effort into the
Yeah.
relationship
Yep.
of just
Been
friendship.
there.
And I was like, you know what? And I just and usually it kind of goes like this. It's like, oh, I'm always the one initiating
Yes.
like a call or hang out or whatever. And I was like, I'll just pull back and see what happens. And then,
That
usually
hurts.
those people yeah, and usually those people just kind of fade away. And we just kind of go and you just realize like, oh, well, that was, just like anything else in life is temporary and but it's unfortunate, and people who just sometimes it's hard to listen to. I sometimes call them like an Eeyore.
Yeah.
It's like no matter what happens, it's just the end of the world. And obviously, like you said, like everybody goes through those phases and everybody deals with that stuff. And also, I also completely understand that there are times in your life, especially when you have kids, that you feel like, hey, this is gonna last forever. Like I'm gonna be in sleep debt
Yeah.
forever. And because I have 6 kids, I'm gonna go bankrupt in sleep
You
debt.
are. You are. Yeah. Yeah.
And that I think, especially as your kids get older, you realize, oh yeah, that's not the case. Like I look at my 10-year-old and I'm like, and then I look at my 2-year-old and think, like, golly, that feels like it just flew by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once you're looking back through time, you're like scrolling on your phone and thinking like, oh my god, looking at pictures and thinking like,
Mhm.
my gosh, like that's crazy
Yeah.
that was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever
Yeah.
time. But in the moment, you feel like you're in the foxhole and you're just
Yeah.
fighting for your life.
Yep. And I don't know why like for like Eeyore personalities because I love sad things. I love somber things. I'm very French British, like very like this. Listen to the National all day and zone out. I'm happy with that. Um, but there is still some moment where, like, after a while, it's kind of like, just admit that that's who you are. Like, if you're unhappy
Yeah.
with everything, if everything does feel like it rubs you the wrong way, at least say it. Because then,
Yeah.
like, I, as a friend, if right now, like, hey, man, I'm having a really hard day today, my first thought, as just trying to be a decent person, be like, Andrew, why are you having a hard day? What do you think you could do to make it a little bit better? What are your habits today? What did you eat today? Like, I'm going to ask you all these questions. If you're like, man, I'm having a rough day and I don't feel like changing it right now, cool. Then I won't offer you what I
Yeah.
hope is helpful suggestions because if you offer to help those people and then they crap all over whatever you suggest, then it's how do you not take that personally? Like if I come to you and say, Andrew, I have a huge problem, and then you give me a solution and I go, I don't want your solution, you're gonna be like, all right, well, I don't can you tell me that beforehand? Like just
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
me I'm here to complain because then I'm gonna treat this differently. And but
Yeah.
also to I also don't know the moments when I just want to complain more than have a solution. So, that's also not the most realistic expectation.
I think it is, and also when you're in those moments, it's hard. I'm a very like single track mind person
Yeah.
generally, which I think a lot of people in like the arts, in order to be successful in the arts, I think you kind of have to be an insane person.
You
I
do.
think that's like kind of
Yep.
you have to have some luck, and you have to have like the drive and the talent and all this stuff. But I do think like if you're not a little bit insane, you probably aren't going to make it because you're going to
Yep.
step back and be like,
What am I doing?
this is it. Yeah, this is insane. Why are we here? I should make
Yeah.
better choices. So like I'm fully aware, like you're saying, fully aware of the idea that at a certain point, you know, in my head, it's like it's so hard for me to sit still.
Mhm.
Not sit still physically, like I don't have ADD or anything like that. As in, like, it's so hard for me to not be pushing towards something
Yeah.
that I have to tell myself, no, it's okay. Like, you're having an off day. Like, you can be upset and not do something today, or you can have a day that you're not as productive. it'll eat me alive with guilt, but
Yeah.
it's okay if you do.
Yep. Because life
Yeah.
ebbs and flows. Some days you're in the pocket, for lack of a better term, and some days everything. Because, dude, I'll like pull out a guitar sometimes and I'll strum it, and I feel like I will spend 2 hours tuning it because just something feels like it's not perfectly in tune. And then I'm just like, maybe it was in tune this entire time. My ears just felt like everything was off today, and that's the muse. That's the inertia that day. Is you want to be creative, and everything about the world that day is like, no, I'm not going to. But like, hopefully,
Mhm.
as you get older, you realize like that was just today and tomorrow will be different. I'll get some sleep and I'll be fine.
Yeah, knowing your proclivities
Yeah.
and your ways of working, I think is a big part of being like a professional artist
Yeah.
generally, you know? So I don't do it as much anymore. I don't have this issue as much anymore, but when I first started, I remember very specifically. So I work as a film composer.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Like, I don't think we've mentioned it, but
Now,
it's
we've
okay.
talked about too many other ridiculous
We talked
things.
about too many other things. So I work as a film composer. That's like my day job. And I
Yeah.
remember when I first started, and I started my college apartment, I had to have the room set up like a very specific way, even
Mhm.
down to like, oh, I have to have this lamp on and this, you know what I mean? Like, I have
Yeah.
to have this vibe. It was very much like I had to set the tone in order to get things done.
Yeah.
And I think the more you do it over and over again, and the more you realize, like, I have to get into the zone this way, but you can kind of like manufacture that a
Yeah.
little bit as you do it over and over again.
Yep.
And I think also you realize there are certain functionalities that are just like, oh, well, this is how I work doing this. So I'm just going to do it. But on the flip side of that too, like you're saying, it's just some days, oh, I'm tired. I'm feeling this way because I'm tired. My
Mm.
ears aren't, I've listened to I last week we did some sessions for a movie I'm on, and we did 6 hours of sessions and then another 3 hours the next day.
Good
And
God.
like on the Thursday,
Yeah.
I did the spotting for another project that we did in the afternoon, and it was just like by the time I had finished all that, like I was just spent. Like I was spent physically, I was spent mentally. I'm also naturally an introvert, so
Okay.
like having to kind of do you when you're with clients, you're more like it's more like a bit more entertaining, and it's like you're doing all this other stuff that you're like coming out of yourself to
Yeah.
do, which I struggle with. I've come a long way
Mhm.
from it, but I struggle with in knowing myself and saying at the end of that day when I was like trying to make something else happen and it's just not happening,
Yeah.
of like, you know what? I'm going to shut down. Either it's like I'm going to shut down or I'm going to do like clerical work that doesn't require like necessarily like my creative brain to do it. And like you're saying, like some days it just isn't happening, and knowing, oh, well, like I can't, don't force it. Like I'm going to do something else
Yeah.
in the meantime.
Yep. Because I'll get like I usually edit podcasts at night or listen to like an audiobook is like my like what I do before I go to bed usually. And like if it's like 10 p.m. and I'm starting to edit a podcast, some days I'm just like, don't do it. Like some days I can do it at 10 p.m. and it's fine and everything's great. Other times I'm like, I feel so weirdly stimulated from whatever this day required of me, and I'm gonna not pay attention to this podcast. So like don't do it. Just do it a different time. You'll be fine.
Hmm.
But like to some part of me be like, well, I want to be efficient. I want to use all my time perfectly. Yeah, of course. So just change your definition of what using your time correctly means. Okay, so Andrew, just for let's start wrapping up so you can actually get back to your job as opposed to hanging out with me all morning. So how I end every call is ask every guest a series of 5 questions. So they aren't rapid fire. You have time to think about them. First question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, did you have any names that you almost named your kids? You have six
mean,
of them, so
honestly,
there could be a million,
I
or you could not remember
yeah,
any of
it's
it.
true. I don't remember that many of them. So what's funny is that we would have like an idea for a kid's name, and then one of our friends they'd have a kid and they'd have that name, and we're like, well, we can't use that anymore. You know what I mean? Like we had a
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
and my wife would be a far better candidate for this question.
Okay. Okay.
But I think Olive was one for our daughter. We did not go with that one. We did have and the reason for that one I think was because my sister-in-law's child is named Oliver, and it was like, oh, well,
don't do that.
yeah, we can't do that. And then there was also, there was a couple other ones, like uh, we were gonna do Ambrose for one of my kids, but then one of our other people we knew, they named their kid Ambrose, and then we were like,
What?
oh, well, we use it as a middle name. Yeah, it's like
How do
wild.
you
It's like
steal Ambrose?
I know. It's like wild. It was like how insane. It was one of those things where I don't remember a ton of them, but that was some of our things. And I think actually each time we would do, the first name is like an original name. The second name is like a family name. And then obviously our last name. So yeah, the real answer is I don't feel like we ever borrowed again too. Like we made like a list of names
Yeah.
and then we picked from that list. And then whenever we'd have the next hit, I don't think we
We just created a new
used the
list.
same. I think we had a new list. I don't think we reused the same list.
Oh, man. I feel
I
like
don't think.
boy names for us, like I feel like girl names are super cute, fun, whimsical. Boy names, I feel like you either do very traditional or weird. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of middle ground for boy names.
But also on the girl names too, you got to think about these people are going to be adults at some point.
Correct. Yes.
And I've definitely had that experience. And also my father-in-law would always like take names and try and like make, a funny play.
Yeah, of course. You got to
on
mess
the
with
name.
them. Yeah.
So we would actually like think about the name and be like, is there any way that like this could be twisted into a
Yep.
way we don't want it to be twisted?
Yep. How do that's what like older siblings are for, right? So they can be like,
Yeah.
hey, here's the name I'm going to choose. I'm going to rip this name to shreds and I'll get back to you. Tell you how many ways I made fun of it.
Exactly. Let's see how mean the schoolyard kids can be.
Correct.
That's
That's
trick.
the beauty of middle schoolers. They're going to be monsters no matter what your name is. So you can only
true.
try not to give them too much fuel. That's the hope, right?
Exactly. We're trying to minimize the damage. Just like as little as possible,
Yeah, of course. Okay, next question. Do you have a favorite TV or movie dad?
Movie dad.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if there was a favorite dad specifically, like character. I do remember it's like a weird thing for me, and this is like a strange thought process. So like my dad got very white hair at a young age. I think he was like fully white before he turned 40.
Okay.
So I always knew him, and I was late. They had me at 42, so I was very much come from an older family. So I only know my dad as having very white hair.
Yeah.
So Steve Martin, like with like Father Bride and all that kind of stuff,
totally,
like I just always associated with my dad because
fun.
they were both funny, they both musicians, so I kind of always associated that. And then also the other thing was like Robin Williams playing his like dad characters, as like as a I don't know, as like a kid growing up in the 90s, like you see him in all these different adult, like him being the father in movies, so like Hook or Mrs. Doubtfire, all these different movies. So it's like also I associate Robin Williams with those roles, even though obviously he played a billion different roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be those two might be the characters. The 90s TV dads were always kind of the butt of the joke.
Pretty much.
So I was like, you know.
Yeah, they were there to be like the buffoon, which I feel like, early aughts TV kind of started to get away from that with like Modern Family. I feel like Ty Burrell was like a perfect example of like kind of an aloof dad, but also very present at the same time. He always did like, he was like a good straddle of that.
He still played the buffoon foil, but I think also in that show, everyone kind of got their buffoon episode.
Yes. Yeah.
So it wasn't like exclusive to Ty. He was just being like kind of silly.
Yeah.
He was just more playful in that. But yeah, it wasn't the level of like some of the, yeah. And I also don't feel like I watched a lot of Family Matters growing up, on Friday nights and stuff. And I don't feel like they played it quite that level of like,
nonsense.
I remember it being funny. Yeah, like complete, like you didn't graduate the 4th grade level. Buffoonery.
Yeah, like you literally just exist just to go to work, drink a beer, and fall asleep on the couch. It's kind of what I feel like 80s and 90s sitcom dads were like.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next question. Do you have a go-to replacement curse word? Like when you need to curse, but you're around one of your billion kids and you shouldn't.
Yeah, for sure. We say a lot of frickin' frack.
Frickin' frack.
And frack and a lot of, oh my gosh, what's the other one I'll say? I say Jiminy Cricket a lot.
You did have older parents. Jiminy Cricket.
But I don't feel like I don't think that was even a reference. It's just like me literally just doing everything I can. Or just like the like amalgamation of nothing. It's like you're just speaking in tongues, So you're just like having a fit,
I feel like I do sound effects more than I say a word. I'm just like, brr.
Yeah, you get that like, you get the like I need you to go away from me right now
Yeah,
because it's gonna be very bad. You just like, please. And I've definitely gotten called out. I did one. I was on the porch one day and I like kicked something. Like I was walking and I stubbed my toe really hard on something.
yeah,
And I definitely said something I shouldn't.
yeah.
And my second kid immediately goes inside to my wife and said, it goes, "What does this mean?" And then
No.
says it, and my wife is like, "What?" He's like, "Dad said that." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, kid. I don't know if he even felt my body go under the wheels when he threw me under the
Yeah,
bus.
no,
That's
he
how
didn't.
fast that was,
He didn't. And also, you're like, I
you know?
can't have one flippin' human moment right now.
No, 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 no. Definitely not. And they'll remember it too. They'll
Oh
be
yeah,
like,
totally.
"Hey, you remember that one time
Yeah. Oh,
that
dude.
I that one time?" I mean, I at one point, and this may I don't this at one point we were going somewhere. So a friend of ours had surgery, and we were
Yeah.
bringing them dinner, and we had gone to Costco, and we had bought their black tie moose cake thing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about? So like I was getting everybody in the car, and in true dad fashion, you're like buckling everybody in the car, lots of car seats, getting everybody set up. You think you put everything in the car, and you're like, all right, cool. So we're pulling out, we're driving down the road in the neighborhood, and all of a sudden this thing hits. Like it
Yeah.
sounds like something hits the side of the door, and we're like,
Yep.
what the heck is that? And we just keep rolling. We get to this place, and we could not find this cake
Yeah.
anywhere. And then finally we would go back to the house, cannot find it. We're like, what the heck? Like we had it. I have
Yeah.
no idea where it was. And then I was like, oh, you know what happened? I put it on the top of the car
You
to
did.
get people buckled, and then I forgot about it. And my kids still to this day, you remember when you left the cake on the car? And I'm like,
Yeah, I do.
yeah, that was like 3 years ago.
3 years
Okay,
ago. Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Yep.
I know that'll be like, I'll be in the hospital dying, and they'll be like, you remember whenever you put the cake on the top of the car? It's like, it's never going to get old.
Here
I know.
lies Andrew Morgan Smith. He loved well. He had a big family. Really messed it up whenever he put that
Yeah.
one cake on top of
They're
his
just gonna
car.
have the pictures on the side of the gravestone. It's like a heart and a cross or a dove or whatever. It's just gonna be this picture of this cake smashed in
Your
the street.
your tombstone is going to be a smashed cake. That's what it's going to be. It's
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
a
that's
cake
such
with
a
a
good point.
tire wheel in the middle of it, and your kids will
Yeah,
they've already bought it. I don't know how they did it.
yeah, for sure. They've like had it designed in AI and everything. It's gonna be fine.
It'll be
It's gonna be
great.
great.
That is such a weird common parent moment though, where like you do one thing, you have one slightly human moment, and your kids for the rest of your life like, do you remember this? But then whenever you do it to them, it doesn't get then they get trauma and need therapy for it. So I don't understand how. Come
Yeah,
on,
turnabout is not fair play.
it's not. But also, you're the parent; you should be bigger than that. But I am not always bigger than that, is what I've learned.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I never tire of being told about the cake incident.
Yeah, it's your
Never.
favorite thing. It's your best moment ever,
Yeah,
ever.
for
Okay,
sure.
next question. What's like your favorite activity? What's like one of your favorite things to do with your kids?
It's been interesting, like personal favorite activity,
Yeah,
and also what to do with my kids.
yeah,
My
yeah.
personal favorite activity, I don't know. I mean, I have kind of gone through this weird thing. I'm sure you have as well as like a person who dealt with music. It's like you do music for fun, and
Yeah.
then you do music for work, and now you're like, well, oops. Yeah, so it's been interesting to try different things and try different pastimes and see what works. I don't have a whole lot of time to do things that I enjoy.
Yep.
I still do enjoy doing music, but it has to be like completely outside of professional. So
Mhm.
I play saxophone in a big band for, like in like an 18-piece jazz big
Cool.
band.
Yeah.
And I have a modular synthesizer that like I can like just sit there and do stuff. It's like away from the keyboard, and just like you just kind of zone out for a minute, and I'm not having to do the composer thing. I'm not having to produce something,
Yeah.
and I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And with the kids, I just enjoy spending time with them of like, hey, like let's go throw the baseball in the backyard. Let's go play soccer in the backyard.
Yeah.
I enjoy having experiences with the kids, I guess is like what I
Yep.
want to be doing. Of like, I don't want them just to remember the cake on top of the car incident. I want them to remember like, hey, you remember how like dad would go in the backyard and play soccer with us,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? Like, especially as a kid growing up, like my dad was too old to do that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Like we threw the ball, but like by the time I'm old enough to throw the ball, my dad's in his 50s.
Little
So it's
different.
like
Little different.
it's a little different. So for me, that's been a tremendous source of joy to just be able to spend time doing stuff that like I hope they remember in the future of like, oh, you know, my kids are really into reptiles. So it's like going to a reptile show and walking around and seeing all the reptiles, or going and spending time with them, making memories. Because, you know, I feel like it's too easy for us just to sit around and do nothing. It's like too easy for us to just sit there and watch a movie, which like my kids, you know, a whole nother discussion, but like my kids sometimes are, you know, they have very much the boy energy of like, hey, can you just sit down and eat your food? Like just sit there for a minute.
Yeah.
They like take a bite, they get up and they're walking around. I'm like, no. Like just
until it's all gone. Until it's all gone.
Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. I'm not asking for a whole lot. Like just whatever you can. So like trying to have moments with them that are intentionally like, I'm here with you doing this thing right now. You know?
Yep. I do. But at the same time, if you don't eat your food and then in 20 minutes from now, whenever you say you're hungry and then I get mad at you and I don't make you more food and then it's a fight, this is where we stop that moment. It's right here when you
we just take the food up, we take it off the table and put it on the counter.
Oh,
and
yeah,
we're like,
we've done that before.
Hungry?
Yep.
There's the food that you did not eat.
This doesn't taste very good. I'm like, it's what I made for dinner and it's what you still get for dinner. Can I have a treat? You didn't eat a single bite of protein. Get out of my house.
I'll go with no. I also have a son who he will only eat cold food.
What?
No idea why. Yeah, it's very bizarre. He loves like leftovers. He loves refrigerator food. He loves like he will not touch the food when it comes off, you know, the stove or the oven or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be on the plate. He'll be like doing whatever. And then an hour later, you go somewhere, you come back, and there's food on the table. He'll just start eating it. And I'm like, oh my God. He'll just go into the
It's great.
He goes into the fridge and he just literally grabs cold pizza and starts eating it. Like ice cold, which like I'm not super versed to cold pizza. But it's that is his mode of eating. It's like if it's cold, it's mine.
That's
upsetting.
There's some moments in parenthood where you're like, whatever I do isn't going to make this any better, so I'm just going to accept it. So you know what, man?
Ignore it for now.
Yeah, because if I force my child to eat warm food, that's
Is it worse? Is it worse that they're eating it cold or not eating it?
Yeah, or not eating it all. Or have I now created an awful relationship with food for my child in which their only knowledge of food is me screaming at them, why aren't you eating your food? Which one? It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So that is very much the calculus, or the pretending you didn't see it because you don't want to deal with it.
Because then once I see it, I can't unsee it. And once I start to deal with it, I don't know how to not continue to deal with it. So
yeah, and if they know you saw it and you didn't deal with it, then that's
different too. Yep, that's a problem too.
Because if they think they got away with it,
yep.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did it before. Well,
yeah. Well, before was whenever I was trying to take care of other things at the same time, and I decided, F it. I don't care. This problem is a minimal problem compared to whatever other thing I'm trying to figure out mentally.
The house being on fire is a big deal. Like sneaking, whatever, another set of crackers was not my concern at the moment.
No. You say, me being like, hey, only get 5 chocolate chips for whatever, and you got 5. I know you did that. I don't really care. And just don't make it 6, okay? That's the problem.
Make it 6. That's where I draw the line. That's the difference now.
That's the difference there. Okay, last question for you. What is your least favorite kids movie or show? Like whenever your kids go to put it on, you're just like, this is trash. I hate this. Or any like media that they consume where you're just like, this is awful. I can't deal with this.
There's been some stuff that was like just pure trash that like we eventually had to cut. So there's a thing called Color Cars.
Okay.
On YouTube where literally it's like the most annoying. It's like literally I don't even know how to, it's just so mind numbing and brain rotty. It's like hard to describe. So like, it literally would be like these terrible CG renderings of a truck and it's in like 5 different colors. And then they're like, truck, blue, and then like shoots it through something. And one of my kids got really into it to the point where he was having like tantrums when we turned it off. And we're like, no. Like we have to cut this.
Yeah.
Which also Caitlin and I were like, no problems cutting this. This is truly awful.
Thank God this is bad.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for reacting poorly because I have an excuse to get rid of it.
Correct.
There's also weird things, like especially as a person who works in media, that like kind of tweaks you.
Yeah.
Like whether the show's music is bad or like the like animation is bad or something. So there's that kind of stuff. We've avoided a lot of it, thankfully. There is like weird moments that it's not because the show is bad. So like, I know that this doesn't really matter at all, but I got down to the last 2 people to score Gabby's Dollhouse. Like, it was me and the guy who
Dude.
got the job.
Yeah.
And so, like, now it's, like, kind of the thing that haunts my life in the sense of, like, and not in that it,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
truly matters. Like, everyone has close calls and stuff, but it's one of those things where it's, like, my daughter has now got into Gabby's
Yeah.
Dollhouse. And I don't know. The honest truth is I don't know if I could have, like, that show's now in, like, 8th season or
8th
something.
season has a
And, like,
movie. Yeah, like, it's
it
a
has a
big thing now.
movie. And so, like, I remember distinctly where I was when they told me I didn't get the job, like, all that kind of stuff after doing, like, going through all the rounds of the show, like, the auditions. And, like, now but it's still, like, is a little weird because you're like, you know,
Could have been me.
it's like, you're like, we could be living very differently, you know?
True. Yeah,
And I might have no hair because I would have pulled it all out having to
probably.
work on that show for 8 seasons.
Yes.
You know, no knock, to anyone working in kids TV. I've gotten close a couple times in kids TV, and it's a job and you're working, but boy, I can understand a lot of my friends who are in kids TV have been like, "Hey, like, anything you have that's live action, please, I would love to help.
Yeah.
Like, anything that's just looking at a real person on my screen, please,
Well,
please
that and
send it
also,
to me."
like, if you are, like I mean, my kids did Gabby's Dollhouse for a little bit. I mean, if it's a 10-episode season, that's also you're not just doing, like, intro, outro music. A lot of those songs have 2 or 3 original songs per episode. So, like,
So that was
you're putting
yeah,
out I don't
that's
know if,
it.
like, scoring it and being, like, the music director for it are the same thing or not.
No, so usually they have a different songwriter team, but
Okay.
the reason why they went with the person they went with is because they are the songwriters.
Yeah.
So it came down to me and the guy who wrote the songs and produced the songs for the show, and they
Yeah.
decided to have a more cohesive sound. They wanted to have them do everything, which I totally respect
Yeah.
and have no problem with. But for sure, like, a lot of those teams, you know, there's, like, teams of people that do that. It's usually
Yeah.
not just the composer doing
Okay, that
everything
makes
because it is
sense.
so much work.
Yeah.
It is so much work. And also, you're kind of doubling your production timeline because you are a lot of times writing the songs as they're working on the animation or, like, right before, because they have to have the actors sing it, they have
Mhm.
to have the actors perform it, then they have to animate to those songs, and then you're scoring the show on the back end too.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot.
you're, like, you're doubling your workload because you're not just focused on this one element. You're doing 2 of them. Yeah, it's 2 very distinct jobs for
Mhm.
sure.
Well, it's also crazy because, like, if or funny to me because, like, I don't know, like, I've listened to tons of Gabby's Dollhouse songs. I can't tell you who wrote any of them. I hope that dude's getting paid
Yeah.
well, but, like,
Oh, yeah.
it's not the same as, like, if I listen to other bands that do kids music, I know who wrote the song, I know who performed it, but, like, TV kids music, I'm like, I have no idea who wrote this song. I don't know who writes all the
Yeah.
Daniel Tiger songs, but I know that dude's probably
Yeah.
written 200 songs, and that's really impressive.
Yeah, for sure, and I think also it's just the production of them is so different than you might have for, like, a band or an artist.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Daniel Rojas, did all the music for the show called Kipo, which is
Okay.
on Netflix. It's like a DreamWorks project, which is really cool music and really cool songs. But, like, what was so different about that, he produced the songs and he produced the score and he did the score. But what was so different about that is, like, they brought in a bunch of artists
Yeah.
to do the songs with.
Okay, cool.
So, like, they have a bunch of named artists who like collaborated and sang on them and did all
That's
kinds
cool.
of stuff with it, right? So it's not just like, you know, Andrew producing songs for whatever show
Yeah.
where you only have the lead actor sing the song. It's like you'd bring in, you know, some major artist to
Mhm.
sing the song. So you get like a crossover effect on that pickup. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of a different game
It is, yeah.
rather than like, oh, you got to crank out 3 songs a week and it's just you and your writing partner and, you
Get it
know,
done.
the time getting in the timeline. Yeah. And the deadline looming in your face.
Well, we watched on Apple Plus. We liked Helpsters a lot when it came out, and that has like Matt Berenger from The National sings some of the songs. Ingrid Michaelson sings one of those songs. Nora Jones, but I think they would do like a season of it. So they would do like, all right, we're only going to do like 7 songs, and that'll be like the song at the end of the episode. But also like
Mhm.
they had very well known musicians for all of it. Where I'm like, yeah, this is so much coordinating to get someone to come in, sing the song. Then they always did a video for it also, and I'm like, this is a ton of work. So,
But
I
it's
got it.
smart. I mean, but that it depends on what you want, where you want to butter your bread. Oh my goodness. Where you want to put your effort in, right? Right? Like, you gotta know where you're putting your effort into it.
No,
Because
I
even with
gotcha,
Star
yeah.
Forest,
Yeah.
you know, we've discussed the idea. So, like, Star Forest is a virtual band, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, you could have like people swap out. And the 2 lead singers we have are very talented. They're very good singers, and they have like their own careers in their own worlds, right? Like they have their own thing. But I think that, but we've had that discussion of like, oh, well, you could have guest artists come in and do a character, and then they could have an animated character because it's an animated band. And they, so like, but once again, that like requires so much more resources and so much more thought power in it and so much more timeline and money. And also the Apple shows are generally the like quality over quantity move.
Yeah.
Right. So all things like Shape Island and like all that kind of stuff. So Shape Island is done as stop animation. Like, and so was Tumbleleaf and like, so I went and toured the studio over there. And like, you can see they still have all the stuff from like Tumbleleaf and like it's the same studio who did Tumbleleaf, and it's all like legit stop motion.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is really cool, but is like, and it comes across in the quality of the show, but it is like, it's not the like model that more studios have been pursuing, which is like, hey, we're doing 24 episodes in a year, buckle up.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Apple's kids stuff has definitely been a cut above the rest, I think.
Yep.
At least right now, in my mind, their stuff, like, we kind of go through phases of like, oh, that, and I think right now we're in the like Apple TV's kids stuff is some of the less annoying things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is a bit more calming. Like a lot of their shows are they're
pretty
like,
chill. They're not high intensity.
Pretty chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not high intensity. Like if it's on and you're doing something else, you don't want to rip your hair out.
Yeah.
Which is important. That's a very important.
It is.
As you're like cooking, you're not want to end
That's
yourself.
Right. And then last thing for you is just moment for self-promotion. I feel like you're mostly active on TikTok and stuff. We want to say like TikTok handle, you have a website, any of that stuff, just self-promotion,
Yeah. So my name is Andrew Morgan Smith. You can find me at andrewmorgansmith.com. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok as Andrew Morgan Smith. And generally, I just like to talk about post-production and trying to educate people on how best to, usually filmmakers, but anyone who wants to peek behind the curtain on, hey, you should be doing this or that as you go in to make your movie or your products or your shows. And I work as a TV and film composer, but I also write music and be Andrew Morgan Smith on all those platforms. And Star Forest, I think it's starforest.rocks is the website of the kids project that I work.
That's awesome.
And it's a lot of fun. It's like, it's for kids. I mean, it's for anybody. Generally, it's targeted for kids who are like 12 and younger. But I mean, we have a crazy contingent, and I mean crazy in like actual crazy, but we have a large contingent of people who are really into it, who are in like 24 to 50-year-old, or 24 to 40. So maybe we should just say it's for everybody.
For everyone. Good music is good music, man.
Yeah. So it's fun. And we did crack what synthwave nature pop sounds like.
Finally. I mean, like that was of all the questions I had for you, that was the one that I didn't realize thank you for the callback. I appreciate that.
Brought it all the way back around.
But for the most part, man, thanks for doing a call. Thanks for hanging out for a bit, Andrew. And we'll see you next time. All right.
Anytime. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, man.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Imperfect Dads Podcast. And make sure to give us 5 stars wherever you listen to us. Music, editing, and production is all done by me. Make sure to tune in on Mondays and most Thursdays for new episodes. This podcast is part of the Never Effaced Network. Make sure to go to nevereffacednetwork.com to learn more about them.